You talked about going after the families of terrorists. You now reverse that
I
essentially.
didn't reverse anything.
You would still want to go after the families of terrorists?
No, I didn't reverse anything. I clarified very simply, we have laws. We have to obey the laws. Now, the laws have to be
Killing the families of
widened.
terrorists would be against the law.
I didn't say kill. We have to go after them, though. The family knows. Look,
What does
you
that
have
mean?
a terrorist.
Kidnapping them?
You
or
have a
taking them?
terrorist. We're going to have to do something, and it's the only way you're going to stop it. You know, I tell the story of General Pershing. You'll take a look at General Pershing in 1919 in the Philippines, how he stopped terrorism, okay? You'll take a look at it. It's too long a story to tell on your tape. It would take the whole thing, but it's one of the very interesting and very powerful stories. Look, we're going to have to be a lot tougher. We are playing with a different set of rules. ISIS chops off people's heads. ISIS drowns people in steel cages and pulls up the cage. An hour later, everyone's gone, 40, 50, 60 people at a time.
But you said just
Wait a
the other
minute,
day,
and we
have to play
can't
the
waterboard.
game. You
Listen.
said we got to play the game the way they play the game.
We have to play the game at a much tougher level than we're playing.
What does that mean, though?
Well,
Does that
it means
mean
we have to expand those laws.
Does that mean cutting off heads?
No, it doesn't mean that, but it means we have to expand the laws. Look.
What does expand the laws mean?
Anderson, let me explain something. We are playing at this level, and they don't care. They have no rules, and we have these rules that are very onerous. I mean, our military's brought in because
But there's
you're
the
too tough.
Geneva Conventions on
Yeah,
War.
sure,
There's
I know
ways,
that,
there's rules
but
in a
you know
battlefield.
what? It's funny. It's very interesting what happens with the Geneva Convention. Everybody believes in the Geneva Convention until they start losing, and then they say, "Oh, let's take out the bomb." Okay, when they start losing. We have to play with a tougher set of rules. We have laws. We don't allow waterboarding. Think of this. ISIS these are smart people. These are people that know the internet better than we do, and we're the ones that came up with it. ISIS is sitting around. They just chopped off 20 heads of Christians and others. They just drowned 40 people. And they're sitting around watching us arguing about waterboarding.
When you say increase the laws, though, and do more than waterboarding, what is that specifically?
We'll work on that with the generals. I'll work on it with the generals.
I talked to General Michael Hayden.
Yeah, sure. He says it's terrible that we talk that way. And you know what? That's why he's been fighting this war for many years, okay?
He's a four-star general, former head of the CIA, former head of the NSA. He says your foreign policy ideas frighten him.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, he frightens me, because we've been fighting ISIS for many years, and this should have been over with quickly. So that's the problem. We have these people that they're frightened because I'm protecting the terrorists.
But do you think the problem with fighting ISIS is that we're not using the same tactics that they are?
We're not fighting it strongly enough. We have to end it, and we have to get back to rebuilding our country. Our infrastructure is falling apart. Our country is falling apart. Our bridges are falling down. You know, 60% of our bridges are in dangerous condition, and we're spending trillions and trillions of dollars in the Middle East. We have to fight it viciously and swiftly, and we have to knock out ISIS. Now, I didn't want to go into Iraq, but the problem now is the way Obama got us out was a disaster. And if you remember, when we got out, and I said it on your show 2-3 years ago, I said, take the oil. Did I say take the oil?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
So when you say, so are you still in support of waterboarding and more?
I am in total support of waterboarding. It's got to be within the law, but I have to expand the law because a lot of people think it's not within the law now because of this administration. So they're allowed to chop off heads, and we're not allowed to waterboard. Somehow we're at a big disadvantage. I will tell you that right now. And again, I was going to give you the analogy. Yeah. So they're sitting around having dinner. They eat, believe it or not, too, even though they chop off heads and even though they drown people, and they're talking. Can you imagine the conversation when they're talking about how weak and soft and pathetic we are, and they go out and chop off people's heads, okay? They can't believe it. They can't believe it.
I got to ask you about
the fact is, just in a nutshell, we have to be much tougher. If we're going to beat ISIS, we have to be much tougher than we are. When you have General Hayden saying, oh, that's so terrible the way Trump is talking, that's why we're losing.
I got to ask you, I watched the press conference you gave last night, the victory speech. Obviously a huge night for you. Just a couple of factual things. The stakes you showed, those aren't actually Trump stakes, right?
Those they're Trump. No, I buy them. I'm not going to kill the cow.
No, but they're not sold. Those are, because the whole reason for showing those things was to fight back against what Mitt Romney said about a failed business.
Just so you understand, Trump stakes. We sell the steaks through my clubs. I have many clubs and hotels, and we sell the steaks.
But they're not sold at Sharper Image. They're not available to the public at large.
No, they're sold differently.
So that business is gone.
No, it's the same thing. It's an offshoot of it. I mean, it's the same thing. We do a tremendous steak business.
Because those steaks were bought locally from a meat supplier.
No, we buy a lot of steaks from different places. I don't want to buy, if I'm in California, I don't want to buy my steaks from New York.
So those are the steaks you sell.
We have different suppliers. We sell the steaks, and largely to our hotels and our clubs and things like that. And it's a small business.
And the magazine you showed up, that's not the Trump magazine that Mitt Romney was talking about.
Just so you understand, I've had many magazines. Every time I open a business, I'll sometimes open a magazine for a period of a year, get the business started, and then close it.
Because people were pointing out today, saying, well, look, the items you were showing last night, in order to push back against Mitt Romney, the implication was that those are Trump steaks available nationwide somewhere.
Those are Trump. Well, they are available nationwide. You can buy them at different places that I own. I own many, many places.
You can buy them if you eat in a restaurant here.
Worldwide, yeah. And
you can't go to the internet and buy them.
The magazine, that magazine's been with me for a long time, and you morph it in.
But that's not the Trump magazine
just so you understand,
that Romney was talking about.
I open up many magazines when I start a business, and I'll keep it open for a year or two until the business gets going. And after the business gets going, you close it up. It's like a lost leader, because frankly, you don't make any money with these magazines.
Finally, the debate tomorrow night. Do you expect the tone, the tenor to be different than the last one? The last one was tough. I mean, you had people on both sides coming after you.
It's such an interesting question. I think it's going to be much different. I must tell you, last time I was leading, and by the way, I don't know how you feel about it, but every single poll said I won the last debate. Drudge said it, Time Magazine said it. They do those online polls with hundreds of thousands of people calling in. But I was in the 60s and 70s percentile. Now, when I went into that, I said, this is going to be an interesting evening, I will tell you. It's going to be a tough evening. Many people said, oh boy, I wouldn't want to be you tonight. That was going to be a tough evening. I mean, they were like wounded. They were really wounded. I think this is going to be much different. Now, I may be wrong, but I am now far and away the front runner. I think, here's the thing. The Republican Party is sitting on something that's so great. They're sitting on millions and millions and millions of people that want to be part of it. The worst thing they can do is knock me out. If I get knocked out, if I don't make it, every one of those people.
So you think they're going to start to coalesce around you?
Every one of those. I'm the only one can beat Hillary, and I'll beat her easily. I'll bring in Michigan. I may bring in New York. We always talk about the path. The path is much tougher for a Republican. You do understand that structurally. Because if they lose Ohio, it's over. If they lose Pennsylvania, if they lose Florida, it's over. But I'll bring in states long beyond that. First of all, I'll win Florida.
Will you debate Cruz if it's one-on-one?
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
you would do a debate with Cruz.
I don't think he's a good debater. I think he's frankly, the way I look at Ted, I think it's very phony. I think Ted is actually a bad talker, pretty good debater, bad talker, can't talk. I don't mind debating him at all. The problem is when I debate somebody, then people say I'm not a nice person. But they say you won the debate.
So bottom line, tomorrow night you're expecting a different tone, but you'll be ready for anything.
I think it's going to be softer, but I'll be ready. I mean, I think that Marco is going to be a different person. Marco's been, mortally wounded. Questions, will Marco even be there? I hope he makes the right decision. I'm not going to make the decision for him. But Marco's been, pretty badly wounded. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Kasich is interesting because he said he was going to win Michigan, and he lost. He said he was going to win it. I mean, he said to you, I think I watched him on your show.
He never came out and said he would win, but he said he thought he would do very well.
He said he would win Michigan. He didn't even come in second. Okay, so, I was of the impression if he didn't win Michigan, I'm not talking about Ohio, I'm talking about Michigan. If he didn't win Michigan, he would drop out. He came in third, okay? He didn't even come in second. So it'll be interesting to see what he says. And Ted is Ted. I mean, we've been playing the game now for a long time. These debates, to me, are getting very boring, if you want to know the truth.
Mr. Trump, thank you.
Have a good time.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.